Hello, and welcome to State Strategies for Skills and Lifelong Learning Systems. My name is Amanda Winters, and I am Program Director for Post-Secondary Education at the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices. The National Governors Association is a bipartisan organization representing the nation's 55 governors of the states and territories. It's my privilege to sit in the Center for Best Practices and to craft technical assistance and policy development opportunities for state leaders. This meeting is an example of the cool work that I get to do, and I'm proud to be able to collaborate on this meeting with Western Governors University. The meeting we have pulled together for you today was not developed to bring you all the answers. In fact, it might generate even more questions. This event, focused on a new and emerging area of priority for states, is an opportunity for all of us to ask questions of this new field, the hows and the whys. In preparation for this event, I've been very fortunate to play the role of learner, exploring a complex and complicated field, lifelong learning systems. It's a phrase we throw around, but we often don't have a concrete definition. It encapsulates our hopes that our state systems of workforce and education interconnect and support a laddering and stacking of credentials and learning that leads to true economic mobility for all. These pathways are centered in the development of skills and competencies, those building blocks that make up our credential pathways and have the potential to more closely connect the languages of education and workforce systems to the world of work. But to bring that kind of vision to life requires leadership, investment, entrepreneurial spirit, collaboration, agency alignment, and just nuts and bolts policy work. We're going to skim the surface of the possibilities that exist for skills-based lifelong learning systems over the next 2 days, exploring some of the current collaborations and insights that are truly fueling the national wave of energy in this space. This is the first step in a portfolio of work that we are undertaking at the NGA Center. We have way more to learn, more partners to meet, more strategies to consider. This meeting is the opening of a door to identify the states that might be interested in venturing further into the conversation about lifelong learning, and to identify those partners who can inform our efforts. So welcome. Thank you for joining us to learn with us. And without further ado, let's get started. I'm so very pleased to kick off our 2-day convening with remarks from the 51st Governor of the great state of Indiana, Governor Eric Holcomb.
Hello, it's Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb, and I'm honored to join you virtually, of course, today as you come together as leaders with a shared vision for the future of education and work. We hear it daily from employers across Indiana and who want to locate in Indiana that a skilled workforce is the critical factor that determines whether they can expand and therefore succeed. And we know that the learning landscape has shifted and the careers of the future are already here. That's why 4 years ago, we launched the Next Level Jobs program in Indiana to help workers gain valuable skills that enable them to thrive in the exciting and changing careers of today and tomorrow. The results speak for themselves. Over 50,000 individuals in Indiana have accessed the Workforce Ready Grant program, with over 25,000 completions and wage gains of $6,800. Nearly 3,000 employers have accessed the Employer Training Grant program, with over 26,000 individuals trained and wage gains of $5,800. And during the pandemic, we invested over $100 million in CARES Act funds to expand these programs to help more Hoosiers move on to the next level. And individuals and businesses are reaping the rewards through our skills-based talent pipeline that helps people and companies become even more globally competitive, promoting equity and breaking down barriers that are in the way, which is precisely why we've partnered with Skillful Indiana through the Markle Foundation to help employers and workforce development entities across Indiana learn more about skills-based hiring and implement new ways of finding that talent they need. And it's why we're investing in new funding models like our $75 million Indiana Career Accelerator program, which awards financial aid for students to use for training and ultimately to earn an industry credential in 6 months or less. This new program will require providers to meet a high bar to access training funds. They'll need to demonstrate a 75% graduation rate, 65% job placement within 3 months, and average wages of nearly $60,000 within 2 years. We're flat out excited for the initial launch of the program later this fall. I was also thrilled to co-chair the Data Committee for the President's American Workforce Policy Advisory Board with President Scott Pulsifer from Western Governors University, and I'm excited to see our discussions regarding learner and employment records move into the implementation phase. Through the Achievement Wallet, our community college system and Ivy Tech Community College and WGU Indiana and the Indiana-based Goodwill Excel Center are all collaborating with tech companies and foundations. And they're creating powerful technology that connects education and occupational experiences. So people's skills, however they were learned, can open doors to earn new career opportunities. Talent is perhaps the most valuable currency. And together with you, we're empowering people with it and connecting businesses to it. And the future will be brighter for it. Thank you for all you do across this great nation to advance meaningful initiatives just like these.
Thank you so much, Governor Holcomb, for your comments and for joining us today, and for your visionary leadership in Indiana. To continue with the theme of visionary leadership, we are thrilled to welcome our keynote speaker, Obed Louissaint. He is Senior Vice President for Transformation and Culture at IBM. IBM has been a leading voice on the technology and human capital impact of a move to a skills-based economy. Obed?
Thank you, Amanda, and good afternoon, everyone. It's appropriate to begin by acknowledging that we are still living in an economy that's impacted by a health crisis, and that it's our collective responsibility to continue to take care of our people, in our clients, our communities, and our workforce. With that said, unlike other crises, with this one, we're seeing that every business is looking to emerge stronger and how they can accelerate their own digital transformation to better support their obligations and responsibilities in communities and clients. At IBM, it's our belief that it's not only our obligation to be responsible stewards of technology, but it's also to ensure that we're focusing on how it impacts people and society. So if you were to take a look in our archives, one of the things that you'd notice are people who are sitting in classrooms, and those individuals being our clients, our workforce, people at large in the communities that are learning how new technology is modernizing their businesses and society at large. It's trying to be that catalyst to make the world work better. Over the course of our discussion today, I hope to share a little bit more context about the opportunity that we have right now, and then share some of the journey that we've been on as the IBM company in a number of the last couple of years, by using some very practical examples of career paths in education models. I'd love to then follow up with what are some of the lessons in which we've learned, and then what could be an opportunity for us to collaborate going forward. So, as was describing by way of context, we are living in that era where we have a strong digital foundation is no longer just a source of competitive advantage, but it's actually an existential priority. It's a world that is this world is made possible by such technologies and platforms as hybrid cloud and applications in artificial intelligence. I know you must all be too aware of that the pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation, but it has also widened some of the pre-existing skills gaps, leaving millions of Americans in limbo, in companies of all sizes struggling to find the right talent. So it's our opportunity to manage during this interesting paradox of where there are workers who are ready to do and deliver their best work, and there are companies and organizations and institutions who are missing the talent in order to grow. And we know that this gap is quantified. According to the World Economic Forum, it says closing the skill gap could add $11.5 trillion to the global GDP by 2028. That's $11.5 trillion from a talent by closing talent and skills gap. So as we think about closing these skill gaps across this nation, we have an opportunity to build a new economy. We have an opportunity to build a more equitable economy, one that can benefit the many and not just fit the few. So this is our chance to do things better than they have been done. This is our chance to look at the way in improving pathways to well-paying jobs and careers. It's about putting individuals not just on a job, but on a journey to well-paying careers, so our citizens may have family-sustaining wages. But being successful means that we have to evolve and drive progress. And that progress is tightly connected to fostering an inclusive culture where innovation thrives and individual progress. A journey that must place skills, as the governor described, at the center of attention. So we know that this work can be done, but it will require all of us to rethink the way we approach education, skills, training, and hiring in this country. As mentioned earlier, let me share a little bit about the journey that we've been on. We've been at this for a number of years, and we know that going and creating and introducing new pathways is far greater than declaring it as a priority, because traditional systems just don't support people who are to be hired out of high school. They don't support individuals who haven't had an internship experience or are the first in their family to get a corporate job. We need to augment these traditional systems and focus on using a combination of hiring reform, investments to make our jobs pathways more equitable. Now, what specifically does that mean? First, we focused on skill-first hiring, meaning that we prioritize the right mix of in-demand skills over specific degrees when looking for talent to work in our technology's fastest growing areas like cloud, AI, cyber, design thinking, software development. So why did we do that? Well, one, there was just shortage of talent. And then when you look at the way in which talent is laid out in this particular country, by placing the traditional bachelor's degree at the beginning of the hiring journey, actually exacerbated inequality in our workforce. Just think about it. 67% of workers in this country don't have a bachelor's degree. So we're already taking out 2/3 of the talent pool. And when you look very specifically at underrepresented minorities, That requirement alone systemically rules out 70% of the Latinx community, 73% of Indigenous people, 77% of Black people from being consideration for roles. So this focus is what we call skill first hiring or new collar jobs has allowed us to open the aperture when it comes to hiring, bringing people with non-traditional backgrounds and attracting people re-entering the workforce to launch their career. Today, we're proud to say that over 50% of our jobs in the United States do not require a bachelor's degree. And we're constantly working on that balance to ensure that we do not put dumb barriers ahead in our jobs that limit pathways. So we're continuously working on the balance between ensuring that you put requirements where they belong and then supporting individuals. There's a number of our jobs that do require degrees. And then how do we support individuals if they so choose to continue to build, to gain access and pathways to those jobs? So first, on skill first hiring. The second area is around education and reform and massive retraining efforts, right? We're changing the paradigm around skills and moving them to the center of our talent model by we're providing new equitable pathways to jobs, equipping both students and workers via a couple of different examples of programs. So I'll share with you around apprenticeships, around a pathway to early technical high school and college, as well, that's called PTech. And then I'll also talk about a recent announcement that we've made in partnership with a number of other institutions, as well as our objective to skill 30 million individuals. But first, around apprenticeship. Apprenticeships gives Americans of all backgrounds the chance to earn while they learn, gaining skills for high-tech jobs without incurring student debt. We've invested $65 million in apprenticeship talent since 2018. And to date, we have built 25 registered apprenticeships in 17 states in 30 cities. This is a model that government can adapt quickly since IBM openly shares our apprenticeship curriculum and model. For example, we worked with the California state government in 2019 to launch a high-tech apprenticeship for mainframe development and for software engineering. So these apprenticeships, modern apprenticeships into these critical wage-sustaining jobs and wealth-creating jobs in tech is an opportunity for us to co-create. The second area is around PTech, so pathways to technology, early college, high school. It's an education model that IBM pioneered over a decade ago, and it combines high school with community college education, with practical industry mentorship and internship at no cost to the student. Just last year, IBM offered 1,000 new paid internships to Peak Tech students and their graduates. I'm very proud, just 2 weeks ago, we crossed the 1,006 threshold. That's a 10x increase in our internship goals from 2020. And P-Tech schools are now open in 13 states with the support of industries, over 600 industry partners around the country. And we hope to see more of your states adopt this model of high school with community college sponsored by industry. The next area is around, you can't do this alone. It's important to work with networks and partnerships. So we're also a proud founder of 110, an organization dedicated to upskilling, hiring, and promoting 1 million Black Americans over the next 10 years. Our data shows that what we describe as new collar talent or skills first hiring are 4 times more likely to outperform in their business results in their annual reviews. So not only is it an access to a talent pool, but it's an access to a performance pool. Finally, when we think about resources and scale, we recently announced a groundbreaking commitment to provide 30 million people of all ages with access to new skills by 2030. So it's not only about creating the pathways inside of our firms, it's really important to us as a steward to rolling out new technology that we help to support skills at large to prepare people for work. Now, as we've been through this over the last couple of years, there's a number of lessons that we've learned. And it's important that our efforts don't stop at building new programs, but it's evaluating what are those lessons and then how do we build from it. We have seen firsthand how providing in-demand skills outside of traditional higher education can be life-changing to workers and students. We also know that addressing the skills gap is a team sport. There is no individual, agency, government, institution, business that can do this alone. It takes an ecosystem and learning from our past experiences. That is why we think it's important to share some of the lessons that we've learned. Let me just share 4 brief ones. One is reviewing job requirements. So getting to 50% of our job requisitions not requiring degrees, it was important to do that. It's just to do the work and go through the requirements, ensure that unnecessary requirements do not disqualify massive parts of the talent in the workforce. So practically doing the work for the corporate sector and the private sector and in businesses to review requirements that have done barriers into these wealth and family sustaining jobs. Second is creating real pathways to good careers. The point and emphasis being on real pathways. There is many avenues to a job, but it's not necessarily pathways to a good job that leads to a career. So ensuring that we keep in mind that the intent is hiring for the long term, is giving people the skills that is going to put them on a journey for long-term success. Third, is developing wraparound services, ensuring that stakeholders, the manager, the mentor, the hires themselves are prepared, that they can learn from each other, and we have in our organizations processes to get ongoing feedback. It's important that we provide the services around the individual that then helps them to be successful and the team that's managing and mentoring them to be successful. Lastly, what I found to be almost one of the most important things as part of the change management within our corporations is showcasing the talent. We have decades of experience in our companies of hiring individuals with degrees and certain degrees from certain institutions. So when we change our hiring paradigms and systems, it's showing the success rate of the talent and seeing the outcomes that they produce for our organizations. It is so important to showcase the talent inside of our organization and outside so that we can get the flywheel going of a new paradigm for skills first, hiring, development, skilling, upskilling, reskilling. So I'll close on the notion of it's important that we partner. While our work will continue, a successful reimagining of our nation's skills system is going to require collaboration, as mentioned before, a team sport and innovation in government and industry. The private-public partnerships are one of the key aspects of this collaboration. For example, we're working with the American Council on Education to increase transfer credits from apprenticeship programs. To date, our software engineering apprenticeship program validated up to 45 college credits. We believe that we're going through a transformational time in our history. And if we all work together, governors and industry alike, we can help address America's skill gap and prepare our workforce for the jobs of today and those that will be created for tomorrow. And we're ready to work with all partners to build our economy back stronger, creating a more equitable future, not just for a few, but for all. I invite everyone watching today to join us on this journey to build our economy back stronger and more equitably. Thanks, Amanda, for the opportunity to address this community.
Thank you so much for those insightful comments, Obed. your comments around racial equity and that being an underlying goal for all of this that is foundational to the work that IBM is doing and the work that NGA would like to do in the coming years.